So, full disclaimer, I did watch this film a couple of weeks ago and then I just haven't had chance to sit down and film the review until now. So there may be details I have forgotten. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content on this channel as well as movie reviews here every week. All of my movie reviews are spoiler free and I will leave a playlist of my recent reviews linked up above in case you are looking for something to watch this week. I went to see Smashing Machine. I was very excited to go and see it, and I actually did that thing with Ollie at the cinema where he went to go see one thing and I went to go see Smashing Machine, and then we met up afterwards and I sort of came out and he was like, "Oh, how was your film?" And I was like, "Ooh, it was intense." That is how I would sum up this film. It is intense. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you will know that I am a big fan of a like sports underdog movie. As somebody that doesn't really watch or take part in any sports whatsoever, I really love watching films about like a sports underdog team. And that recent series on Netflix about with Kate Hudson and the basketball team, absolutely loved that. I thought that was amazing. Really loved Ted Lasso, even though I like never watch football. Really like a sports themed movie or TV show, apparently. So I was quite excited about this one because whilst I haven't followed UFC specifically, I really enjoy wrestling, and I discovered The Rock that way. The Rock was at his height when I started watching the wrestling. I think it was like the 96 Royal Rumble was when I started watching the wrestling, and then sort of did a bit of a deep dive backwards. I've watched like documentaries about The Rock as well. So I was interested to see him playing this part that was like close to being a wrestler but wasn't a wrestler, and learn a little bit more about like the start of UFC as well, because this is like all the way back at the start of when UFC began, and it was much bigger in other countries than it is now. And these two people that the film follows, I mean, obviously it mainly follows Mark, the guy played by The Rock, but we also follow his friend who's another UFC fighter, and sort of like, relaunches his career off the back of Mark, I can't remember his second name's career. But yeah, it was really interesting watching that like historical side of things. And obviously that was quite intense. The like idea that like, these men could get really hurt in the ring, or the octagon it is for UFC. But at the same time you then have his kind of mix up with drugs that he takes for pain, and then his relationship with his girlfriend, who is played by Emily Blunt. And obviously they co-starred together in Jungle Cruise, which was like part produced by The Rock as well, or Dwayne Johnson, like whoever. And so it was interesting to see their chemistry. I don't know, it wasn't, I definitely found it believable. And I thought that her acting in these scenarios, because she definitely had to play this insecure girlfriend who was kind of worried about him in terms of like his career, but also worried about him in terms of his like health and addiction issues. But then she also had sort of mental health battles that she was having issues with, and to sort of follow their story at the same time then also added to that intensity. So it was definitely very intense. I did like seeing them on the screen together, but you were watching the whole time just going, this is a toxic relationship. And so the fact that they managed to like act away this toxic relationship, I think, it's pretty good going to them, because you were always like, oh, like he's not good for her, she's not good for him, like it's not a good moment, or like this is the wrong time for them to be having this conversation, or this is the wrong time for them to be together, like they needed to have been together already, or they need to wait and be together later on. So that really added to it. And then you got this interesting thing of his like travel and his getting paid, and obviously there's stuff come out about like wrestlers and their travel and payment recently, so I think it was sort of touching on that a little bit as well, with like the early days of UFC, and like whether they were big enough to have merch and whether they were big enough to have sponsorship deals, and all of that. So from a like historical perspective, you know, it is literally a biopic, and you do actually, like in true biopic fashion, again, this isn't really a spoiler, but you do actually get to see the real guy who the Rock is playing, which, I mean, often in these things you get to see them in the credits where they have the side by side. So I'm not saying where and when and how, but you do get to see the real guy that he's playing. And it's like, oh, it's really interesting. Again, I found this really interesting, and I obviously went on a bit of a deep dive afterwards, looking at, like, I think The Rock put on his Instagram a like time lapse of him putting on the like hair and makeup and prosthetics to become this guy, because the body is obviously very, very similar, because they've got a very similar career in terms of like the pro wrestling and, you know, The Rock and all his fitness stuff and everything. But also he then needed these prosthetics to make him look like this UFC fighter. And I was sort of sitting there going, right, I know it's The Rock, but like what have they done differently? I was like, there's definitely an eyebrow thing going on here, and then he has a cauliflower ear. I was trying to sort of work out, I think he must have some sort of different teeth in too, but I think in the actual story he loses his teeth at some point, so they're fake teeth anyway. But yeah. So yeah, I think that if you like a general sports biopic, then this will be absolutely right up your street. I think that the personal relationship that it follows as well is also really interesting, and definitely like a side of it that I enjoyed watching. I think it's definitely a good film. Should you pay your cinema going money to go and watch it? I'm just not sure that this one has to be viewed on the big screen. It's potentially something I would watch again on streaming at home, but I wouldn't go and see it again in the cinema. I think that the like time spent on screens in the cinema is quite reflective of the fact that other people feel this way as well. And so I think it's not really done as well as maybe they thought it would, because I mean, if you've been to the cinema anytime recently, you've seen trailers and trailers and trailers and trailers for this film. So I think that this one doesn't need to be watched at the cinema. I think it's not something that appeals to like the broadest of audiences. You know, it's not something you're going to be able to watch with your whole family, and it's not something that would be everybody's cup of tea, because obviously there is violence in it. It does deal with addiction. It does deal with mental health, and I think if you've got a passing interest in UFC and the history of that, then yes, it's interesting. Or if you, like me, enjoy a sports biopic, especially an underdog story, although it wasn't so much an underdog story, but I think that then you'll find it interesting. But I think this one is worth waiting to stream at home. I think that there are bigger and better things coming at the cinema that you should go and spend your cinema going money on this week. Um, so, as always, if there is a particular movie you would like to hear my thoughts on next week, I will go and watch on demand happily. Do let me know in comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I do have a couple of book versus movie videos coming your way very soon. So I will see you with my next video. Thanks for watching.